And we're back. I'm Lesley Everett, and you're watching Executive Success on Now Media Television. Let's continue building your executive edge. Welcome to Executive Success, where we sit down with leaders who are redefining what excellence looks like in business today. I'm your host, Lesley Everett, and on this show, we pull back the curtain on principles, decisions, and habits that fuel the world's top executives. Today, I'm joined by someone who embodies both discipline and heart in leadership, Divya Gill, a second-generation CPA who has built a multi-office accounting practice across 2 states after a high-impact career in corporate finance. With a background in auditing and financial leadership for billion-dollar organizations, degrees from the University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee and Golden Gate University, and a leadership certificate from Cornell. Divya has become a trusted strategic guide for entrepreneurs and businesses navigating constant financial change. I'm really looking forward to this interview, as her story is one of intentional growth, core values, and leading with purpose, which brings us directly into today's topic. Divya, I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive right into what shaped you as a leader and how those experiences continue to shape the way you run your firm today. The challenge many leaders face is growing a business while staying grounded in their values, especially as teams expand, responsibilities shift, and leadership becomes more about developing others than doing the work yourself. Many executives struggle, I find, with consistency, culture, and confidence as they step into larger roles. They don't expect all of this coming at them. But looking back, what were the pivotal leadership moments that shaped you? And what did each one teach you about people and leadership? Welcome.
Thank you so much, Lesley, and pleasure is mine. Leadership. Leadership to me is not about titles or legacy. It's about responsibility to your people, to your clients, and the standard you set every single day. For me, it did not start in the office when we started this office. However, it started at the kitchen table. Seeing as a second generation CPA working in a firm or multiple firms rather, and seeing how the clients carry the weight of their uh, businesses, their families on their shoulders. And I realized that accounting isn't just a numbers business; it's a trust business. As a minority woman, I did not have a blueprint I could go by. But because being multilingual turned into my superpower, it allowed me to meet clients where they were, culturally and emotionally, and not just financially. So when a client feels truly understood, they make better decisions. So for me, leadership is an action. And yeah,
Yeah, I think
and
that's really nice to hear when you said that. Sorry to interrupt there, but when you said they feel like they make better decisions when they feel understood, I think that's fascinating as well. And it builds trust from obviously from your point of view with them and the connection and the communication. But it's that making better decisions. I'm fascinated by that.
absolutely. And that was one of my pivotal moments that, like you asked, in my career, where I realized I did not just want to inherit a profession, I wanted to evolve it. I respect the traditional model, don't get me wrong, but I also saw where firms could do better: clearer communication, stronger education for your clients and your team, and a more human approach.
I think that's something that every business needs to learn, and particularly in finance, when you're dealing with something that's so emotional to an individual, and having that connection is really crucial. But respect, trust, and passion are core values and core principles in your firm, as I know. How do you ensure these values truly take root across multiple offices and layers of management, perhaps, and filter down to everybody?
I get asked that question by a lot of my clients and peers because of how we are structured. So for us, it's not in a mission statement, it's in how we operate. We start by modeling, and the onus is on me because leadership starts from the top to model those values consistently. How we show up and set the tone for the entire firm. If respect isn't visible in how we communicate, how we handle pressure, how we treat mistakes, it will not carry through the tree. And then we secondly embed these values into our structure and not just our culture. Managers are evaluated not just based on their performance, technically speaking, but they're also evaluated based on how they lead people, as well how they treat people, team, and the clients. So all of that comes into picture, and it has to work together. And then we have to have clarity and responsibility. Like we talked about trust. Trust comes from consistency. Everyone knows what's going on, what's expected, be it your client at the start of a tax season, be it your client throughout the year, or be it your team as to how to lead, as well as your other team members who will be following the footsteps of the leaders. So we have to have that clarity, and respect naturally follows. Passion then has room to grow.
It sounds like when you invest in the people to believe in this, in the values that you have and really live them every day, then you get the results you need when they're dealing with clients. So it's really coming back to focusing on the people in your team, and then you get the results.
Absolutely. And then we also, to add on to that, make it about direct access and feedback. So as we scale, as we build, we stay, especially me, I stay closely in connection with the clients as well as the managers through regular check ins, leadership reviews, open communication. It's about hiring, promoting with intention. It's about teaching people not just the technical skills, but telling them to stick to the values. So all of that will have to come together for you to perform in a more efficient manner. And like I said, the more human approach to business.
Absolutely, I love that. From your leadership, from your Cornell leadership program to your corporate mentors, what powerful insight still guides your decisions and the way you lead as a CEO today?
I absolutely cherished my experience with the Cornell Leadership Certificate Program. And also, not just that, but with the mentors and peer system that I have created, not just at Cornell, but through the years, where I learned the key thing that clarity is kindness in leadership. And that is one of the few or one of the main rules that I live by. Because early in my career, I saw people assume that other person should know. You know, there is no direct need to provide clarity. However, the program and my mentors and my peer group helped me reinforce that ambiguity does not create flexibility, it creates anxiety. High performing teams do not guess, they execute when expectations, roles, and priorities are clear. So that was one of the main lessons I learned, that you have to separate intent from impact.
Yeah, I love that. And clarity is kindness. That's something I remember. I love that. And I see a lack of clarity often in leadership. And, often leaders are not aware of the confusion or the demotivation that that can cause as well. So I do love that. It is very much about kindness. I know when we've spoken before, you've often talked about empowering clients and employees to step into leadership. Can you share a moment where somebody discovered your potential under guidance?
Absolutely. So this was early on in my career where, like I said, as a new immigrant in the country, there were a lot of challenges. I had barriers with the language, I had barriers with direction as to where to go. And I feel like that's very common when you are in that situation. So, very early on, I was in a position where I was assigned a mentor. I did not understand fully the capability and capacity of it. So, that person helped groom me to be able to make decisions, to be able to communicate clearly, and at the same time be able to work towards promotion within the organization, which ultimately I was able to do. And in that moment, I realized that if people are provided the right direction, right information, and the right leadership, you can really fly high.
Yes, and you learn that from experience, I am sure.
I
So
truly
this is
did. And we try implementing that in our business clients system too here, because the common denominator we see among our clients, especially women entrepreneurs, is that they know how to run the business. They just don't know how to manage the money in a way that would support their short term and long term growth. So that's where our role comes in to help and support them.
Love that. Fantastic. What's one leadership lesson that you wish more women and entrepreneurs in general would embrace earlier in their journey?
I love that question because I tell this to people all the time, knowledge is power. Okay. What we have consistently noticed is that every time we educate a client, be it a man or a woman, and about their business, understanding the workings of their business and how numbers impact their strategy, something shifts. They feel empowered, they feel confident, they are able to move from simply earning income to building sustainable, strategic, successful businesses. They are able to hire employees that fit correctly and align with their goals for short-term and long-term success. So those are some of the I would say common factors or the impact we have seen when it comes to working closely with such clients. And same comes with the team members, right? Let's not go too far. Your team, if they're empowered and they know that they can present an idea and not be shy about it, they can be empowered. So it's the whole concept of giving people that education, the platform, and that ability to be able to think independently and being able to make that impact that will show in the numbers once you start seeing your profits.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's really putting the person first and what they need and what they need to develop and empowering them. I've seen so many times brings out so many things we're not even aware that that person's able to do. It's phenomenal, and I love this whole values-centered leadership that you really embrace there in your firm. And this has been incredibly valuable, Divya. How can people follow your work and continue the conversation with you if they'd like to?
Sure. So business owners can follow my work through our website, gilltaxgroup.com. Across social media platforms, you have TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. The links for all of that are within our website. You can also call us if you'd like to speak to somebody. We're here 12 months a year. We're not a seasonal CPA firm. It's 866 Gill Tax. It's 866 GILLTAX. Or you could email us at your CPA at gilltaxgroup.com.
Divya, thank you so much for sharing your insight, your leadership journey, and the values that guide your firm. I love to hear what you've just shared with us. Conversations like this remind us that leadership is not just about expertise, it's about character, consistency, and courage. For those watching, I encourage you to reflect on the leadership moments that shaped you. Think back over those and consider how you can empower someone else to grow this week. Thank you for tuning in to Executive Success. I'm your host, Lesley Everett. And remember, true executive success starts from the inside out. We'll see you next time.